41 warships dropped out of slipspace around us in less than a second, and every alarm on my bridge screamed at once. My name is Daniel Lowe, and I command the smallest ship in the fleet, a corvette called the Common Ground. 60 crew, no heavy guns, no real shields to speak of. We had slipped through the threshold gate on a routine resupply run, and now we were sitting in the middle of a Vashtok Dominion patrol so large it blotted out half the starfield on our main screen. Grace Bennett, my tactical officer, spoke without turning her head. Her voice was flat, controlled, the way people sound when they refuse to let fear win. 41 signatures, she said. 3 cruisers, the rest destroyers and frigates. We are outmatched in every category. I already knew that. Everyone on the bridge knew that. What mattered now was what we did in the next 90 seconds. An open channel lit up before I could give a single order. The Dominion liked to broadcast their first contact wide, so nearby systems would hear the mockery too. A voice came through, smooth and amused, translated into clean English by our matrix. "This is Fleet Speaker Dral Vosh," it said. "Human vessel, you have wandered into Dominion reclamation space. Normally we vent a ship like yours without a word, but it has been a slow patrol, and your kind amuses us. Tell me, small ship, did your commanders draw lots to see who would die today? Or did you volunteer, alone against so many?" I heard someone behind me shift their weight. Nobody spoke. I let the silence sit for a moment before I answered, because rushing an answer sounds like fear, and I needed my voice to sound like anything but that. "Fleet Speaker," I said, "I appreciate the concern. But you should know, this ship is not alone. It never was." His laugh rolled through the speakers, wide and confident, clearly meant for his own bridge as much as mine. "One ship claims a hidden fleet," he said. "How very human. Shall we count the ghosts you say are hiding behind you?" "You do not need to count anything," I said. "You need to look at your own sensor logs from the last 6 hours." There was a pause, a short one, but I felt it stretch across the whole system. Ellen Price, my navigation officer, put the truth on the main display, wide open, unencrypted, the same courtesy Vosh had given us. I had told her to send it the moment I gave the signal, and she did not hesitate. 6 hours before this moment, the Common Ground had passed through the threshold gate exactly once, on a supply run that looked as boring as any other. What nobody in the Dominion had noticed, because they never thought it worth noticing, was that human freighters had been threading that same gate for 11 straight days, on a schedule that looked like ordinary trade traffic. Slow, predictable, beneath their attention. Every one of those freighters had carried something small clipped to its hull, a cedar buoy, unarmed, quiet, built to look like drifting debris on any scanner that gave it half a glance. Over 11 days, we had lined the outer shell of the gate with them, one by one, without a single alarm ever being raised on the other side. "You are sitting inside a field you never noticed, Fleet Speaker," I said. "Not because we are clever, because we are patient. You did not lose to a fleet today. You lost to 11 days of freighter schedules nobody bothered to check." Silence again, longer this time. I pictured his officers scrambling behind their own screens, running back checks on garbage fields they had waved through without a second look, because who scans garbage? "You are bluffing," Vosh said, but the warmth had drained out of his voice. "Ask your lead cruiser to reverse thrust," I said, just to test the theory. He did not give that order. His formation gave it for him. His lead cruiser's pilot, spooked by the challenge, tried to break away from the gate's shell to get a clean angle on us, and that movement was exactly the trigger our buoys were built around. Not a strike, a signal. Proximity paired with a sudden change in thrust vector. 11 seconds later, 41 Dominion ships lost their sensors and comms in a single wave. It was not built to tear through hulls. It was built to blind. A quiet field of energy that overloaded unshielded arrays and relays without touching a single life inside those ships. No hull was breached. No one on board was harmed. They simply went dark, tumbling gently out of formation, unable to see us, unable to speak to each other, unable to coordinate anything larger than a lifeboat. Their emergency channel crackled back to life a moment later, the one system we had deliberately left untouched on purpose. "You could have ended us," Vosh said. There was something new in his tone now. Not fear exactly. More like a man recalculating everything he thought he knew. "We could have," I said. "We chose not to. That is what I need you to carry back to your dominion, more than the part where you lost today. We had 11 days and 41 targets, and a method that does not care who it touches. We chose the version where your crews go home confused instead of the version where they do not go home at all. Next time you find one of our ships sitting alone somewhere, I would think twice about whether it is truly alone, or whether it simply does not need to look like it isn't." We never fired a single shot at the threshold gate that day. We never needed to. The story that spread through Dominion channels afterward was not about a small ship that got lucky. It was about a species that had spent 11 quiet days lining a gate with hidden buoys, while everyone laughed at the one little ship sitting in the middle of it, and that still chose to hold back a method it had every right to use in full. That is the part that unsettled them more than the buoys ever could. It was not that we were capable of ending their patrol completely, it was that we were disciplined enough to choose otherwise, and that they would not be able to tell the difference next time until it was already too late to matter. Vosh's fleet limped home running on backup systems. It took his engineers close to 3 weeks to fully restore every sensor array across those 41 ships. And every one of them carried home a story none of them wanted to admit out loud. I heard much later, through channels far above my rank, that Dominion patrols stopped mocking lone human ships after that day, not because they respected us, because they had learned, the hard way, that they could no longer tell which of our ships were truly alone, and which ones only looked that way. Back on the common ground, the bridge stayed quiet for a long moment after the channel closed. Grace Bennett finally exhaled and looked over at me. "Did you know it would work?" she asked. "I knew the math," I said. I did not know if his pilot would flinch. People like Vosh always think they are the ones asking the questions. He forgot that a single quiet ship sitting in open space might be the one part of the plan doing exactly what it was built to do. Ellen Price laughed softly at her station, the tension finally breaking across the whole crew like a held breath let out all at once. 60 of us against 41 of them, she said, shaking her head, and we never once had to raise a weapon. That was the point, I told her. Strength is not always about what you are willing to use. Sometimes it is about what you choose to hold back, and letting the other side wonder why. We set a course away from the gate soon after, leaving the Dominion patrol drifting quietly behind us, blind and confused but whole. I did not know then how far that story would travel, or how many future patrols would hesitate at the sight of a single unremarkable human ship. I only knew that we had walked into a moment built to end us, and walked out having changed how an entire empire would see us from that day forward. Some victories are loud, full of wreckage and noise that echoes across a system for years. Ours was quiet. A blinded fleet drifting in the dark, a rattled voice on an open channel, and a small ship slipping away without a mark on its hull. Sometimes that is exactly the kind of victory that lasts the longest, because it leaves the other side with nothing to point to except their own mistake, and a question that will follow them into every future encounter with a ship like mine. Are we truly facing one ship, or are we standing in the middle of something we have not yet learned to see?